Hello, Girls Rock Dallas, virtual camp of 2020. My name is Victoria. My preferred pronouns are she, her, and today's video is going to be on microphones. Microphones is probably my favorite topic to talk about when it comes to audio, and just in general, it's my favorite thing about audio world. One of the things I love about them is that they are, in a sense, timeless. Audio world is ever changing. MIDI controllers are always changing. Software is always updating and adding new features and things like that. But microphones, they kind of keep the same technology, and when you find a good microphone, you're probably going to want to keep it forever. And in my eyes, I think that all microphones can potentially be good, whether they're super high end or, not the highest end out there. Just being able to utilize them and finding what it works good with. You can have the highest end microphone and not get the best sound out of it, and you can have a lower end microphone and get a great sound out of it. So microphones are great. And what we're going to talk about throughout this video is the types of microphones that you're going to see out there in your audio world adventure, and how they generally all work. And then we're going to also spend a amount of time talking about how to get good audio with the things that you already have, usually including earbud microphones, ones that come just with your phone and your actual phone. It has pretty decent audio on it if you know how to utilize it. The first type of microphone I'm going to be talking about are dynamic microphones. So just to give you a brief rundown in the best way that I can, I'm going to explain how it works. So we start with the diaphragm. A diaphragm is a very, very thin piece of plastic that is just cut in a circle. And that diaphragm is connected to a coil. The coil just looks like a very tightly woven spring. And inside of the middle of that coil, there is a magnet, kind of a little tube looking magnet. And all together, those move to create a electrical signal that then go down to a cable and to wherever the destination is, whether it's a soundboard or whether it's your computer. So the way it does that is when you sing, or whether it's a guitar, whatever you're miking, whatever that sound source is, it causes that plastic diaphragm to vibrate, and it activates that coil, so it's going in and out, and that coil then activates the magnet, and the magnet is basically what creates that energy that goes down into your cable, into wherever it needs to go. So that's the quickest and briefest way I can describe it. Now, dynamic microphones are often used in live sound situations for a number of reasons. First off, they are very durable. They can handle being dropped. You can toss them in your backpack and not have to put them in a hard case or anything, and it's going to be perfectly fine. Some people use them as hammers, like just as a novelty thing. I don't recommend abusing your microphones. Treat them with love and they will treat you back with love. But, it can handle a fall, and it's not going to be a tragedy if it, falls off the mic stand, or if you're going a little ham on stage and drop it. So that's the benefit of these. Also, they can handle very loud noises because of how they're designed. They can take a beating sound-wise without breaking, and that makes it really good because live sound situations are loud. And one other thing is the design of the polar pattern that you're going to find with these handheld type of dynamic microphones. So we'll go a little more into polar patterns when I talk about the condensers, but just to give a brief description of what you're normally going to find with these is a cardioid polar pattern. So when you look at a picture of what the cardioid polar pattern looks like, it kind of looks like a heart in a way, but basically what it means is it is picking up what is in front of it only and rejecting what's on the sides or behind it. So there are different levels of cardioid, so consider this cardioid, then there's like supercardioid, and then hypercardioid, so just more focused on the sound source. So the more focused it is, the more that it's rejecting off the sides of it. So that is very, very useful for live sound situations, so that you're not, really picking up, you know, the band that's next to you or the speakers, which is really bad because that's gonna, if your microphone picks up your speaker sound, it's going to cause feedback, and that's that terrible loud high-pitched noise that everyone has heard in a live sound situation. So not fun. You know, you want to avoid that as much as possible. So yeah, that's a quick description of dynamic microphones. We're going to go on ahead and talk about condensers. The next type of microphone I'll be talking about are condenser microphones. So they work in a similar fashion than dynamic microphones in the sense that they also have a diaphragm that is very, very thin. These are typically going to be metal though. You know, it's supposed to be gold, but I'm sure not all of them actually use gold. So the force of your sound, whether it's your voice, a guitar, whatever you're miking, causes the diaphragm to move back and forth just like the dynamic microphone. But instead of it being attached to a coil, there is space behind it. It's kind of freestanding. Now, behind that space, there is a electrically charged plate of metal, and the movement of your metal diaphragm and you know, just the electromagnetic field that is formed between those two pieces causes electrical energy that will then be sent through the cable and to its destination, like your computer for recording, or again, a soundboard in some situations. You don't use condenser microphones quite as much with live sound, but yeah, it happens. So just a couple of things that people are looking for when it comes to using condenser microphones is they expect a clearer sound from them and more high end, because they are much more sensitive to sound because they don't have to move a coil. They're freestanding, so they're going to capture more of the sound and get it sent to where it needs to go. So you get a nice, clear, crispy sound from most of them, and you know, it just is a better overall recording. Now, not to say that dynamic microphones aren't good for recording. There's plenty of studio dynamic microphones, but generally this is what you kind of think of when you see a standard studio microphone. You always see these types in music videos and studio tours, but you know, you're going to find every type of microphone in a studio, but these ones, yeah, they're kind of a fail-safe. They're always going to just sound really nice on pretty much whatever you stick them on. Now, they are much more delicate because, again, they're freestanding. They have the thin metal versus plastic. So you should really, really avoid dropping these and tossing them into your bag. You should have them in some kind of case or some kind of box because they are not going to handle a fall quite as good as a dynamic microphone. I have seen people drop these and they still work, but try to not do that. So that is a quick thing on, oh, and real quick, sorry, just took a glance at my notes. We had talked about polar patterns a little bit ago with the dynamic microphones, the cardioid, super, hyper, that. So these are typically always gonna at least have cardioid where they pick up what's in front of it. I don't see too many narrowed down versions of this. You don't see like hyper and super cardioid and all that with them. But what you do find are a lot of them have the option to pick up differently. So there's a cardioid in front of it. Then there is figure 8. It kind of looks like this on the symbol when you're switching it, and it picks up what's in front and what's in back of it. And then omni, which looks like a circle, which picks up all around it. So not all condenser microphones can do them, but a lot of them can. So you can just take a look when you're purchasing microphones. It'll boast that it is multi-pattern. So it makes it a little bit more diverse, and you can get different types of recording with it. So cool feature to have. So we'll go on ahead and real quick I'll talk about USB microphones. Actually, real quick before we jump to USB microphones, sorry you guys, I just wanted to also say for condenser microphones, one thing that you must have to make them work is an external power source. Now, most interfaces or soundboards, anything that you're plugging your condenser microphone into will have a phantom power button. So that sends a current of electricity through the microphone cable up to the microphone, and that causes causes that plate that I was telling you that's behind the capsule, behind the diaphragm, to become electrically charged. So you will need phantom power. Some microphones come with an external power source, and it's like an actual box that you plug into the wall, and that's where the power comes from. But they need something to charge that plate. So yeah, just wanted to mention that if you're using a condenser microphone, please make sure you have your phantom power on, or you will get no sound. All right, now we'll jump on over to USB microphones. So this is one of many USB microphones out there. They work the same exact way as dynamic or condenser microphones work. The only thing is, instead of needing an interface, which I just mentioned right now, you don't need to plug it into an interface. It just plugs right into your computer via USB cable. Although most of them now are coming with additional cables that you can plug right into your phone or tablet. So they're trying to make them a little bit more diverse, so that's really cool. But yeah, they work the exact same way as anything else does, but just takes out the interface. Now, to explain the interface just real quick so that y'all know what I'm talking about. An interface is basically a box that you will be plugging your standard microphones into, like your handheld dynamic microphones, the condenser one that I had a little bit ago. It needs to go through an interface in order to be recorded onto your computer, because that interface is changing that analog electrical signal into digital. That way your computer can understand and work with it, and then back into analog so you can hear it on your headphones and your speakers. And it does this all in real time. There shouldn't be a delay between you singing something and it getting back into your headphones so you could hear yourself. So that's what an interface is. It's really important if you're going to be using a standard microphone, because that's how you're going to get the sound recorded. So I'm going to go on ahead and jump over to our last topic, and that's going to be recording with the microphones on either your headphones or on your cell phone. So let's get that part started.